I'm actually right here in the Missouri State Capitol right now, getting ready to testify on legislation here in Missouri that would provide needed protections for poll workers and that would restore voting rights to people on probation and parole. But we can't rely on our local legislators to do this job. We need the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. The John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act would restore the protections of the Voting Rights Act that the GART gutted 10 years ago in Shelby v. Holder, that opened the door all of these racially discriminatory voter ID laws, attacks on voting by mail, attacks on citizens with felony convictions. And we need the Freedom to Vote Act that would make Election Day a holiday, that would restore voting rights to people on probation and parole, and that would make things like discriminatory photo ID laws illegal. So we need to be working at the state level, at the local level, and at the national level.
Thank you so
Shannon,
much.
Yeah, and actually, Shannon, if you would speak a little bit to it as well, because what we had laid out, right? What I indicated, of course, D.C. and Vermont and Maine never lose the right. Maryland has a different right. Texas has a different right. Mississippi has a different right. The Freedom to Vote Act would level it across the plain. You've worked with people that have been incarcerated. What's the importance of that, of understanding that you won't be in trouble if you register to vote and you were wrong?
Attorney Jones, you mentioned this last night, and I'm so glad you brought up the statistics. Currently, right now, like you said, there are 4 areas in our country where you never lose that right, but there are also 11 areas in this country where you lose that right. You cannot restore your right to vote unless you are pardoned by the government, right? And that's very scary. And then the remaining states that we live in, at that point, you either have to pay court fees or fulfill probation or parole in order to get that right restored, or you get your voting rights back after you're actually released. And the scariest part about that is that when we look at recidivism for what it is, it's the likelihood of relapsing into old behaviors, right? And we're currently taking people and putting them right back in the communities after we have attempted to help them change their behaviors, hopefully, while they were incarcerated. Yet you can't teach an old dog new tricks and then revert them back to the same state you put them in, right? So we're putting people back in their older communities, and then we're asking them to change, but not allowing them to be a part of the change in their community. And that's the scariest part about the situation is we're taking the label of inmate and we're using it as a weapon to keep people incarcerated in their communities and in this country, even if we're not physically incarcerating them. And we know that's been done before. That was done during the Black Codes, during slave codes. That was done during Jim Crow. And we were able to tell people you cannot participate in politics if your grandfather could not participate. But your grandfather could not participate because we had all these laws and all these codes that kept them locked out of the system, that kept them locked out of participating in their community, their choices in government. And we created this never-ending cycle and brought ourselves right back to the point where we're still seeing formerly incarcerated and currently incarcerated individuals as worth only 3/5 of a person and being what the Black person was worth back then. And we're seeing ourselves currently at that today. So in my form of protest against that, I believe we should be in a restorative justice approach, giving voting rights back to those people we've disenfranchised, incarcerated individuals and formerly incarcerated being among those. But also I've stepped out of my seat as not an attorney, but as just an activist, a community member that cares. And I've gone into jail and I have watched over election processes. I have stopped media from filming how the people incarcerated were voting so that their vote could be sacred to them. I have helped register to people to vote in jail. And then I've also spoken on the phone with legislatures across the country, asking them to step up and to change their community, change those laws so that we can integrate those people back into our community. Because if we truly care about the people that we are incarcerating in this country, if we truly want to restore them, to bring them back in our community, we have to give them a voice and a say in our community.
Amen. And thank you so much. And Denise, I know that you have to go testify soon. And can you tell our audience how they can get in touch with you, and also give us a parting word, because we want you there before that committee laying out the facts so that we can pass good legislation. So can you tell us?
Absolutely. Thank you so much to Transformative Justice Coalition for having me on today. Thank you to the powerful leadership of Barbara and Daryl and everybody on the Communications Committee. It is so powerful. And I just want to say as well that this rights restoration issue is really powerful, and it's sweeping the country. 8 states have reformed their felony disenfranchisement laws since 2020, and it has powerful impact. Studies show that if you want to reduce crime, let people vote once they have served their time. The studies show that it reduces recidivism. Why? Because people have a stake in their communities. When people feel like their voice is wanted, they feel like they have a responsibility to be good citizens in their communities. And just the opposite is true as well. And that really comes to the broader point of all, is that all of us, everybody in our community has a right to have a say, because this is ultimately about how you determine your own future, your own destiny. Every person should have a right to be able to speak out on matters that affect them, that affect their families, that affect their children, and that affect their futures of their communities. We need all voices, and without it, we don't have a just democracy. And the good news is we can make that happen when we work together to ensure that all voices can be heard. Thank you so much for having me.
How do people reach you, Denise? How do people reach you?
Oh, I totally forgot. We are the Missouri Voter Protection Coalition. I'm here in the Capitol right now, standing next to a legislator. We are at www.movpc.org. We have our legislative tracker up at bit.ly/Mo Voting Bills. You can see all the bills that are up. We're getting ready for a lobby day here in our state capitol on January 30th. And I know that folks like me all around the country are getting ready for the same. Get involved, make your voices heard, and know that advocates like everyone at TJC are there to support you.
We love you, Denise. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your incredible legal acumen. Thank you for your heart and your passion for justice. We can't wait to have you back on the show and do your thing with that committee today as you testify. Just thank you. Thank you for all the members of the Missouri Voter Protection Coalition. We're grateful for everybody's work. So thank you. Take care now. And let us ask the same question for you, Cynthia. And, as you're closing and you're giving people the information, please tell people how they can get involved in the struggle, because your communications committee is just doing an extraordinary job. And tell people how they can get involved. Cynthia?
Yes, I'm here. The first thing I would ask for folks to do is to go to Voting Rights Alliance. That's VOTINGRIGHTS Alliance, ALLIANCE.org, and sign the pledge. The pledge is a commitment to participate in elections, to protect our vote. That's our key hashtag. Hashtag protect our vote, and to stand up for the passage of the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and the Freedom to Vote Act, to protect the 1965 Voting Rights Act against all these efforts to curtail it further, and to make sure that you encourage everybody you know to participate in the elections. I can be best reached by email at crobdc@gmail.com.
Thank you. And Ashley, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yes,
Ashley,
well, you all can go.
You there, Ash?
You can go ahead and follow me at Ashley Shannon 96, ASHLEYSHANNON 96 on all social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, what else is it, X. And also, I'm going to encourage you all to go ahead and follow and keep up with our newsletter, where we will be sending out that information we discussed today that breaks down what's going on in the 8th Circuit. That's on TJCcoalitions.org, TJCcoalition.org, where you can pick up the newsletter. You can go ahead and keep up to date with information, as well as follow us on our social media on Instagram, TJC_DC, and then you'll be able to keep up with some of those short break media facts that you can share with your friends, family, and on your own social media platforms as well.
Amen. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, thank you to all of our guests. Thank you to Cynthia Robbins. Thank you to Denise Leiberman. And thank you to Ashley Shannon. They've just been, Barbara, phenomenal guests, just really bringing the information from last night's teletown hall as well as other information. But if you want to get, you can still go to YouTube. You can still go online and watch the teletown hall from last night. We're going to have it posted over at tjcoalition.org as well. You can certainly go on Facebook if you want, and you can watch last night's teletown hall because it was a phenomenal one. But more, and even more, if you're 18 to 35 or know someone between 18 to 35 years old, we encourage you to go to tjcoalition.org and get the information so they can be registered for our Gen Z Young Millennial Training. It's going to be in Phoenix, Arizona at the beginning of April the 1st. And let me tell you, that's during Final Four weekend. And it's also during the HBCU All-Star Game. So the HBCU All-Stars will be playing. They'll be in town. We'll be in town. We'll all be learning together. It's going to be a phenomenal experience with phenomenal instructors as well as folks that are going to be presenting. Barbara, any other thing that I've missed before we close this out, Barbara?
You have been amazing, Daryl. Our guests have been wonderful. Last night was outstanding. Let's honor the legacy of Dr. King every day, not just on his birthday. Let's do it every day by continuing this fight for voting rights. Remember that he said, so long as I do not firmly and irrevocably possess the right to vote, I do not possess myself. Let's get our vote on, people. Let's be voting rights champions. Let's fight for everybody's right to vote. We will stop this nonsense of the 8th Circuit because you will be in the streets with us. Daryl.
Thank you, Barbara. It's voting time, folks. It's voting time. They voted in Iowa yesterday. They will be voting in New Hampshire this Tuesday. Check your voting status. Go to vote.org. Be certain you register to vote. And most importantly, as we say, get off the sidewalks, get into the streets, and make your way to a ballot box. Until next Tuesday, noon Eastern Standard Time, peace, everybody.
Peace.
News Talk 1450
Vision loss
WOLAM, where information
is not something
power.
that you feel until it happens.
Most people lose their vision from diseases like macular degeneration and glaucoma, not at birth.
3 million Americans have glaucoma, and half don't even know it.
11 million people in the United States have macular degeneration.
So many eye disorders can be treated if caught early.
Make a plan today to get your eyes checked.
Visit brightfocus.org to learn more.
What if an art collection gave you a fresh new way to see yourself and the world? Discover the Barns of Philadelphia. On the walls of the Barns, artists such as Renoir and Picasso share space with stunning African mass and Native American jewelry in ensembles that invite the viewer to draw their own connections across artistic traditions and time in a singular immersive experience. From tours and classes to family programs and art after hours with cocktails and performances, there's something for everyone. The Barns. See art differently. Tickets at barnesfoundation.org.
The 6th Annual Urban One Honors, Best in Black, airs Sunday, February 25th, 8 p.m. Eastern on TV1, with performances by Mary J. Blige, Dionne Warwick, Chloe, Frankie Beverly, Donna Lawrence, and more, with performances by Tiana Taylor, BB Winans, Damon Little, Angie Stone, and still others to be announced. The 6th Annual Urban One Honors, Best in Black, airs Sunday, February 25th, 8 p.m. Eastern on TV1.
WOL Washington, D.C. W240DJ Washington. 95.9 WMMJ HD3 Bethesda. WKYS HD3 Washington. WPRS HD3 Waldorf and worldwide at WOLDCnews.com.
The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.